Let's talk. Hi, and welcome back to Pocketbook Pediatrics. I'm Dr. Richland Brown, and as usual, I'm always so happy to have you here with me today. So, a quick one for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about hiccups. Now, I don't know about in your country, but in my country, I find that hiccups do tend to be a concern to my parents, particularly my parents of newborns or very young infants. They always want to know if it's, making them uncomfortable. What are the ways that they can help to make it to stop? So, I think it's important to talk about because I've also seen some methods that have been tried to help it to stop that usually are quite unsuccessful. So let's talk a little bit about if there's anything to worry about and if anything can really be done. Now, I like to start with the what. What is it that we're really dealing with, right? And for hiccups, well, the name has nothing to do with what is actually happening this time. It's just that it was thought that this was the sound that was made when this particular action happened. They think it sounds like hiccup, so they named it hiccup. But as for what is actually happening, so many things are happening at the same time, and the body is beautiful. Many things tend to come together to cause things to happen, and with hiccup, it's no different. There are two different things that are happening at the same time. So we have to talk about the diaphragm, which is the main muscle in the body that helps us with our breathing. It helps separate the tummy part from the chest part. When it contracts or it pulls down, it helps to bring the lungs down and causes air to come in, and we inhale, get nice full lungs. And then when it relaxes, it goes back up and it pushes air back out, and we get an exhalation. Now, while the air is going back out, it has to pass through the second part, which is our windpipe and our vocal cords together. Right now, that is how we get sound. That is how we speak. That is how we sing. That's how we get high sound and low sound. And that is all dependent on how close the vocal cords are to each other, whether they're wide or they're narrow, or sometimes they're closed altogether. So when a hiccup is happening, what happens is that diaphragm gets a quick squeeze, or what we call a spasm. And then it forces air up quickly through the windpipe and wants to get out of the vocal cords, but the vocal cords are closed. And so in trying to get out, we get that hiccup. So between the two actions of a quick squeeze on the diaphragm and the closed vocal cords, the air not getting out as it should disturbs our breathing, and we get a little hiccup. And we tend to have a little bout of it, maybe over a couple seconds or maybe a few minutes, and then it tends to clear up pretty fine. Now, as for the why hiccups happen, this is still a medical mystery. We don't have a full answer for you as to this causes hiccups. But there have been some things that they suggest may be associated with hiccups. One of them is a very full stomach. Now, I really think that this is what happens with our newborns and our young infants, because we find that their hiccups really do tend to start right after they fed, or sometimes very close to when they fed. And sometimes they have some puking up associated with it as well. So maybe it is that very full tummy is irritating the diaphragm, and so they get some hiccups until things kind of settle down. Now, for our older kids and for ourselves, they suggest that sometimes changes in the atmospheric temperature can cause it. No, that's not something that we can do anything about. It's just a part of life, something we have to live with. But another thing that we can control, and this would be now for like teens and adults, they suggest that an excess use of alcohol and tobacco may be associated with hiccups. So, something to think about. Now, as for if there's anything that we can do about it, again, we don't have a specific cure to say, do this to stop hiccups. But many things have been tried. Some have been useful, some have not. I'm sure you've tried some of them yourself. But most of them have to do with causing some kind of stimulation in the throat or the ears. Some of the things they've suggested include like sipping on ice cold water or swallowing a little bit of sugar. Biting down on a lemon also has been suggested. That one I'm not so fond of. Hyperventilation or breathing more quickly than you normally would has been suggested too. and breathing into a bag they think might be a little bit helpful. They also talk about pulling the knees to the chest as being helpful, and about gasping, like when you're frightened. So maybe that's where the idea that if you frighten somebody, their hiccups will go away actually came from. And then they talk about this fancy word, the Valsalva maneuver, and it's just a big way of saying that they want you to breathe out while the vocal cords are closed. Now, a way that you can achieve that is by taking a breath in and holding it, and then breathing out forcefully through a straw. And you'll know that it's working because you'll feel that pressure in your tummy building up as you try to get that air to come out, but it's coming up against your closed vocal cords. So those are some suggestions for what may work. Now, what doesn't work is putting a string on the baby's forehead, or tying nutmeg in the baby's hair, or blowing in the baby's face. These things haven't really been proven to work, so I wouldn't suggest them. They may probably just prove more of an annoyance to the baby than anything else. What has been proven usually is just good old time. It tends to go away very quickly. But as with everything, there are some red flags. So if hiccups are lasting for more than 48 hours, this would be the time to talk to your pediatrician to see if there's anything else that we really need to be evaluating. Now, as I say that, hiccups that last more than 48 hours don't really tend to happen in children. It's usually more so in adults. But if it's happening, it would be the time to talk to your pediatrician so that they can just make sure that there's nothing else happening in the body that needs to be taken care of. Now, sometimes it's not something that's physically happening as well. It might be something emotional that they're not able to express what is happening with them, and so it's coming out as hiccups. So just to keep that in mind in case you do have to go and talk to your pediatrician about anything that might have changed recently or might be bothering your child. Okay, so that's all we have for you at Pocketbook Pediatrics today. I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable for the next time that your little one has a bout of hiccups, and just know that, while it might be a little bit annoying, it really isn't harmful. It's not painful. Nothing to be worried about, really. And usually should go away in a brief period of time. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I really do look forward to seeing you the next time on Pocketbook Pediatrics. God bless.